up in Pennsylvania. I had beautiful violet blue hydrangeas, and I just have always been madly in love with them. We have a phenomenal value on hydrangea plant. Here we go. It's under $20. Look, I have goosebumps on this one. And we have 4 flex pays of $5, and we have free shipping on this, and the price ends in 2 hours. So if you're a huge fan of hydrangea like I am, here's the scoop. It does 3 things. It's called sleep, creep, and then leap. First year, it's a little sleepy, starts out small. Second year, it creeps along. The third year, it just absolutely goes crazy. And then from then on, you're gonna have the most beautiful, beautiful flowers you've ever experienced. I hope you will get this. A gorgeous hydrangea bush, it's beautiful. Hedge, foundation planting, container plant. It is winter hardy as well. But I'm gonna let Rochelle, who's our resident gardening expert, join me and tell you more about this. So Rochelle, good to see you as always. Happy spring.
Oh, happy spring to you. This is a really sweet hydrangea. I love this one primarily because of its unique coloring. It's called the Sweet Fantasy Hydrangea, but it's kind of got like these peppermint candy stripes on the petals, which is, this is just the plant that you would get in the mail. But once it gets big, it will be about topping out about 4 feet wide and tall, with these big 10-inch huge flower balls on top of it. And look in that picture, you can see the little candy. It looks like little peppermint candies. It's very pretty, pink on pink. So these hydrangeas are also fantastic because they are one of the newer varieties of hydrangeas where they have been bred to bloom on new wood. And what I mean by that is older hydrangeas. I get this question all the time. I have these beautiful hydrangeas. They come up every year. They have all these leaves, but they never bloom. What's the problem? Well, that is because they are older breeding that only bloomed on old wood. So old wood means that it would have to grow 1 year and then the next year it would bloom. And the problem is that with all of our crazy weather and people pruning them back and all different kinds of reasons, if anything happens to that wood, to that branch, it's never going to bloom in the second year. You have to have it like pristine. Anyway, new wood means that it's going to come up that year and it's going to bloom that year. So the odds of you damaging it and not getting blooms is pretty low. So you will get blooms for sure on this. If you have the older hydrangeas, that's probably why they're not blooming for you. These have those big, beautiful leaves. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're leathery, big leaves. I love hydrangeas because they're so simple. They're a little, I always look to my hydrangeas if like it's hot and I'm wondering if the garden needs some water. They're the first things that will start to wilt, but they're also the first things that stand right back up again. So they really, they're a little touchy about their water, but they don't actually fall down. They just want the water. They're very communicative in my opinion.
I love them, and they come back every year, and they're so beautiful. Now, Rochelle, unfortunately here in Florida, we cannot grow hydrangeas, but please share with us where we can grow these.
Yeah, so you need a place where you're going to get a cold cycle. So if you know your planting zones, you can go all the way up as far as zone 4, which I'm zone 6 and I'm in Boston. So zone 4 really is pretty much the entire lower 48, all the way down to zone 9. So zones 10 and 11 are like down in Florida and maybe Southern California and the bottom of Texas. So anything up to zone 9. So that means, it just means that you need a cold cycle. A cold cycle is what's going to trigger them to bloom and grow the way they do. So if it doesn't get cold, you're not going to be able to grow them. But otherwise, enjoy these throughout the country because these are really sweet one with the pink little candy stripes.
Yes, they're absolutely.
Oh, and I wanted to speak to that map.
Sure.
Did you want me to speak to that map?
Yes,
Let me just
please.
tell you the map really quick. That map that we just had up there, that is when you're going to get them. These are perennials, so they're going to ship according to the dates. Wherever you are, find your place, and then you'll see a coordinating date. That's when we will ship them, and that's when you should plant them. So we do know, based on where you live, the weather, and how cold it is, we're going to ship it to you in time for you to plant it, when you should plant it. So we're just trying to make it really easy for you.
And of all the years we've been offering beautiful leaf and petal products, this is the first time we've ever done hydrangeas. And I'm telling you, if you don't have a hydrangea plant or a bush, they are absolutely magical. And I use them as cut flowers throughout the entire season when I had them up north when I lived in Pennsylvania. I love hydrangeas. And these are just so colorful and they have big, look at these, just how huge these beautiful heads are. This is one head. I don't know if we can come from above, guys, but it takes two of my hands to actually hold this one head. Yeah, if we can get a little come up above, I don't want to pull it too hard, but that's how big these blooms are. And you can tell they just feel good. I love them, as I said, for cut flowers. And again, next year you'll have even more. Now, the neat thing about this, Rochelle, that I like is you can put this as a container plant if you want to, or plant them in the ground. And yes, you can have a big hydrangea bush. Like, you will really have a lot of versatility using this hydrangea. Because maybe you don't have a big yard, Rochelle, and you just want to kind of put it on the patio. It would be gorgeous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you plant it in a container, it will just automatically maintain itself a little bit smaller. It'll kind of grow to that size. I would say have a minimum of a 18 to 20 inch container for one of these because it'll get good size. Or in the ground, these make excellent hedges. I mean, up here in New England where I live, out on Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket, they're, you know, kind of iconic on Cape Cod, just hedgerows of hydrangeas. We love them around here. They're such great, reliable plants. We have hydrangea festivals. That's like a whole thing up here. Anyway, we love them. They're beautiful. And these ones are particularly special just with that very unique candy striping on the petals and the fact that they are so big. The other thing though, I just want to have, I know you said, Suzanne, that you like to cut them and use them as cut flowers, but have you ever tried to dry them? Because they dry amazingly beautiful as well. Have you done that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it really is. They're shocking and they make the most beautiful dried arrangements. Like, you will fall in love with hydrangeas. If you're in a planting area, which is pretty much everywhere except down here in Florida and maybe Southern California, if you've got a little bit of cold, these are going to be, trust me, your favorite flowers of all time. And if you lived anywhere like I did, I lived up in Pennsylvania. Actually, I lived in Phoenixville. We had a big old Victorian house that was on the National Registry of Historic Homes, and I had these old-fashioned hydrangeas all around the outside. And I would get so tickled, Rochelle, every year when they would bloom, and I would use them as cut flowers and dry them, and every year they came back and was just better than ever. But Rochelle, I do want you to explain what they should expect, because obviously this is what you're getting. And I love how it's a kind of a three-stage thing. It's called sleep, creep, and then leap. So you explain what that means.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an old gardener's saying. First they sleep, then they creep, then they leap, and that's every year. First year they sleep, so you're going to install your plant. It will grow. You might get a flower or two, but what it's doing is it's getting settled in and it's throwing out a lot of roots, which is what you want it to do. You want it to establish its root system. The next year it creeps, it grows. Again, not a huge amount, but it's kind of creeping along. Again, it's still throwing out those root systems and getting really established. And then once all that is established and it has this fantastic root system, all of a sudden your plant just grows a huge amount. It leaps in that third year. And so, you know, we just explain that to a lot of people in the nursery industry because we want them to understand that, you know, their plant isn't stunted or something. It's just the way a lot of plants behave when you first put them in the ground, particularly shrubs like this that you need to establish, or any shrub really. They tend to go through this 3-year cycle of sleeping, kind of creeping, and then leaping on that third year with just huge amounts of growth once they get established with their nice root system. So I would expect that with these. In a container, they're going to do the same thing, but in a container, you know, you can control their environment a little bit more. Just make sure you get them enough water. They will tell you when they don't have enough water. Hydrangeas are really drama about that. They like go all limpy really fast, but then as soon as you like sprinkle them with a little tiny bit of water, all of a sudden they just pop right back up. So I always appreciate them for that reason, because they are so forgiving, actually.
They really are.
Even though they look at that foliage. I just love that. I mean, I've got all these plants here, and this one is like my favorite foliage. This is such a fantastic backdrop to other plants. Just the foliage alone, like even when the plants aren't in bloom, I can imagine all kinds of other flowers. It just looks so great up against these big, beautiful leaves. They're like leather.
Yeah, they really are. They have that, they do. They've let it feel almost like a waxy top to them and a sheen. So even if you're saying, well, they're not blooming at this moment, there's, because again, I experienced big hydrangea bushes all over my home. I loved them when they weren't in bloom because again, they had such a beautiful leaf. It looks so nice and beautiful and very little care. Like I honestly did very little of mine. I just expected them to come out every year and they did. And they were beautiful purple. I did not have this peppermint kind of candy cane look to them. Mine were just your classic kind of lavender purple and they were quite pretty. I think this is very distinct and it will be a standout whether it's in your front porch, your patio, if you're using it as a hedging, if you're using it as a decorative corner in your yard. It's going to be one of those things that people will stop and say, oh my gosh, our hydrangeas are so beautiful, or people admire them and you get these nice big healthy heads on them, and really lovely, lovely to cut them and use them for arrangements in the house. I always had, if I had a get together or a barbecue, I would go snip a few out, put them in a vase, and it instantly made my table look fantastic. And I let nature provide that for me. But what an exciting time. Now, remember, this is called a this day only. That's kind of crucial because the price is good only for tonight. Now, that's a big deal. At midnight tonight, the price is going to go up a couple dollars. So you might as well get them on sale. Also, I think it makes an awesome gift to give anybody who's either trying to have a more beautiful yard or a garden or a more pretty patio, or if you're a gardener, or if you just want flowers with not a lot of fuss. Obviously, you have to get them, you know, got to take care of them in the first year. But once that's done, they're pretty darn carefree. I'm sure, Rochelle, if people have questions, I love it because the folks, you guys are so, at Leaf and Petal, so awesome with your customer service, helping people who think they're brown thumbs become very successful florists or gardeners.
Yes, green thumbs. That's what we like. Yeah, and on the back of that brochure, I just want to say you have all of our contact details either through social media or email, or just to call us up, and we can help you with any problem that you have with any of our plants, or really any plants in general. We have all these excellent nursery people down there who know a whole lot. These are just, I just want to wrap it up. These are fantastic. They're such a romantic, you know, kind of, everybody always thinks of those New England and East Coast hydrangeas. So yeah, I mean, they're just a sentimental favorite, really.
And in fact, my producer Allison, this was her wedding flower. Isn't that neat? And she got married here in Florida, so obviously they imported them. Oh. But again, romantic and beautiful, and really, quite frankly, breathtaking. It's one of I have two favorite flower memories. My hydrangeas from my old Victorian house in Pennsylvania, and then when I was growing up, my